Hello, good evening. This is Melanie here with Stamp with Melanie. Thanks for joining in on this Friday evening. Let me just make sure that I'm in the right place. I can see you and then we'll get going. Well, I can't. I see you. Let's see. There we go. All right. I think we're good to go. Okay. So, tonight we're going to talk about the Brayer, the new tool in the new mini catalog. And we haven't had one for several years, but we did have one previously, and it looked like this. So it's rubber. This one is more of like a silicone finish. This one is like I said, rubber. And the new one is a little wider than the other one. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. So if you have this one, if you still have this one, hang on to it. You can use it for everything that we're going to do this evening and then some. The same as this one. Okay? So I just wanted to cover that first, that if you already have this one, you don't need to go out and buy a new one. Unless you want to, of course. Sometimes new is nice. All right. So back in the day in quotes, when we had the original Brayer, we used it a lot of times to create a special background, similar to this. And I'm just going to add a little more color to this so you kind of get the idea. This is Highland Heather. The way you ink up a Brayer is you just roll it across your ink pad just in one direction. If you roll it back and forth, your ink will only go in one direction. Okay, and after it has ink on it, and you just kind of roll it across your paper. And you just want to go in one direction. Again, going back and forth doesn't do much for you. And you keep doing it until you get the desired effect. All right, so you can see. To me, for my dollar, I'm going to use the blending brushes for this technique because I really like what we get, the result we get, better than using a Brayer. But with that said, there are some cool new things that we can do, and so let's talk about some of those. First one we're going to do, let me clean this. Now, typically what I would do is take my Brayer out to the bathroom sink and just run it under the water, but since I don't want to do that repeatedly during the live, I'm just going to use my backup chamois and clean it off. All right, we're good. One thing about this Brayer that I really like is these two metal pieces are feet. So when you set it down with your feet down, it will not touch your surface. And so that helps to keep the ink from getting everywhere. All right, for this first example that I'm going to show you, we are going to use 4 colors, and I'm just going to randomly apply color to this page. We'll start with Highland Heather. And you know, I should have taken the blending brush off the edge of the page and then come on to avoid that color blob, but I think this will work out okay anyhow. For one thing, these pieces of white paper, white cardstock that I have to use tonight are bigger than anything I will ever put on a card. So they'll be trimmed down before they're ever used. So I can cut that off. All right, so that's some Highland Heather. And then let's get one more in the middle. Now, because I have the glass mat, technically I don't need to have this paper down here. I can ink on the glass mat and just wipe it off. I'm a little too anal for that, so I'm still using paper. Now I'm going to grab up some Daffodil Delight. Same thing, we're just going to add some color randomly on the page. All right, that's enough of that. Do a little with bubble bath. And I know at this point you're going, what the heck does a brayer have to do with this? Well, stay with me. You're going to see. Aren't these really pretty spring colors here? Okay. A little more bubble bath. And then we're going to finish off with some Lost Lagoon. All right. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. All right, good enough. Let's put these out of the way. I'm going to keep the pebble path there, and then I'm going to bring in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm going to grab the embossing folder that I'm going to use is the Layered Florals 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to put my panel in so that the image will be debossed, meaning it will go down, not pop up. Okay? So I'm going to put the blank side of the paper against the side of the embossing folder that has the Stampin' Up! Emblem. So it looks like it's upside down, but that's what we want. And then I'm going to just feed this in. Okay. So I don't know if you can see, but hopefully you can. My flowers are, my images are all debossed. They're all down. I'm going to grab my scrap paper back over here and my mat and my brayer. And now I'm going to grab some Pebbled Path ink. Let's just put that up here because I want you to see this. Okay, I'm going to ink this up with the brayer using Pebbled Path. I'm just going to lightly go over the top of it. I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, has she lost her mind? Maybe. But can you see what's happening here? All of the embossed images are getting ink. All the debossed images are just showing through. One more time should do it. All right, I think you get the idea. So isn't that pretty cool? A little something different than you would typically do. And you can keep going over this till you get enough coverage on the embossed areas so that your flowers and your leaves really pop on this. But I think this looks really cool. And then we'll use that in a card that I'll show you in a little bit. Now that's the first thing I wanted to show you. That's pretty cool, that I think, pretty cool tip to use the brayer for. We clean this off. All right, good. Okay, now I'm going to take 2 pieces of basic white cardstock and I'm going to emboss them using the Countryside Blossoms embossing folder. So I'm going to run them both through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and then I'll be right back. I'm going to do them individually, not at the same time, because I want to make sure I have a nice embossed image to work with. Where did I put my plates? Here they are. This is not a 3D embossing folder, so I need to use the regular plates with the embossing folder instead of the gray one. All right, so pull that one out. So there's the first embossed panel. And I'm going to do another one exactly the same. Thanks, Chuck. I'm glad you're getting to tune in tonight. We have to wrap up before the hockey game starts, though. Okay, one more. Now this time, I'm going to take here are my 2 embossed images. I'm going to use one on the debossed side and one on the embossed side. And we're going to add ink to them, the same as we did with this one. Except I want you to see the difference in the effect between inking the embossed and inking the debossed. So I'm going to go ahead and this time I'm using Lost Lagoon ink. And this is the debossed side. So see how those white images just pop right out there? And of course you could make this whatever color you wanted. You'll see in the sample cards that I made at the end, I used a different color. All right, so that's our debossed image. Now here's our embossed image. And I could have just flipped it over, but I'm going to use these on cards. So I'm going to use 2 different ones. Okay, now this one is embossed. Totally different look. All right. That's good enough that you're going to get the idea of what we're trying to show here. So it's exactly the same embossing folder, exactly the same pattern on both. But for one, I colored the debossed side, and one I colored the embossed side. And what I really like about this brayer is that it's such a firm surface that it won't dig into like the debossed side of either one of them. It's only going to pick up what's embossed, which I think is really, really a cool feature. If I remember correctly, with this old one, there's a little bit of give in here, and I'm pretty sure that this did not work with that. But I don't know. I haven't tried it. All right, so that's my second example that I wanted to show you. Then I have one more. And so let me go ahead and clean up my brayer. Get all the ink off of there. And this time I'm going to use one of the hybrid embossing folders from the new catalog. And we're going to play with that and see how that looks. And these hybrid embossing folders are found in both the Thoughtful Moments, which is just the embossing folder and the die, or the Adoring Hearts hybrid embossing folder, which also includes a stamp set, but you don't need it to do what we're going to do. We're going to work first with Thoughtful Moments, because we haven't had anything like this before, so I wanted to be sure to point this out to you. Let me get my machine set up. Get rid of the plates I don't need now. Okay. So this time I'm going to grab a piece of 6x6 cardstock. And we're going to use Thoughtful Moments. So here's the dies. And this is the embossing folder. So with this one, the embossing folder will cut out the words. Let me get a piece of darker paper here. So you can see the words are thank you, oh happy day, thinking of you, love you, hello, with sympathy, you make me happy, get well, just because, and celebrate. And there's a couple of different things you can do with these. One is you can just die cut them and then color them. But we're going to use our brayer, and we're going to add some ink to the embossed side of the embossing folder. We're going to add our ink here. Then we're going to put in the die plate and then the paper and run it through the machine so you can see what we end up with. And for this one, I'm going to use, let's use Flirty Flamingo. So again, I'm going to add my ink to the brayer. And then I'm going to run it on the embossing folder. If you see the ink get on the embossing folder and think, oh, you're just going to mess up your paper with this, I'm not, because the die is going to cover it. And the paper will never touch it. But I don't think I'm thinking of you very well, so let me get this out of here. I want to make sure that I've got good coverage on all of the words. All right, I think we're in pretty good shape here. Okay. So stick this down here. Close up the ink. Now, I'm going to take out my die plate. And in addition to all the little words, we have all these other dies, the rainbows, hearts, stars, clouds, flowers, some stems that you can also cut out. When you lay your die cutting plate over the letters, you can see they'll fit right. You'll feel it like click into place when they are where they should be. So that won't move now. Now I can put my, that is not 6x6. I don't care what anybody says. Nope. Hang on, let me cut another one. I just cut it. Oh well, that's all right. All right. 6x6. Okay. All right, I'm going to lay this right here, fold it over, then I'm going to run it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And actually, Adoring Hearts, the other one, will work exactly the same way. So I'm going to lift this out. Now, you see the ink did get on the paper, but none of the paper that we care about. Because when I lift up this plate, and I take out all my words, well, this one I didn't have it in there right because this didn't cut out. I can finish cutting that one out in a minute. So now, okay, we have thank you, hello, you make me happy, with sympathy, celebrate, get well, love you, oh, happy day, and thinking of you. Now I can use these as they are. I can color them in. I can put a background behind them, but pretty cool. If you roll the brayer in both directions, you sometimes don't get even coverage. But as you can see, I tend to do it a lot, and so far it hasn't really negatively impacted anything. So I don't know. I just remember from previous training, you should always roll it in one direction, so I try to stick with that. But I haven't used it as much as I used the old one. But I think these words turned out really cute. Okay, now let me show you some cards that I made when I was experimenting. Hang on, I'm going to clean this off first. Okay, I think we're good. First, let me show you, here's some hearts I made earlier with the Adoring Hearts. I used Sweet Sorbet ink, and then cut them out. They turned out really cute. Super cute. Okay, then here's a card that I made when I used Daffodil Delight on Lemon Lolly paper. Daffodil Delight ink on Lemon Lolly paper. And then here's the card that I made with the panel like what I showed you first. This one. And then here are the two cards that I made when I did the reverse, the emboss and deboss, except I used boho blue. But I can't get over how different they look. Yes, we did used to have to huff on it, but we don't need to do that anymore. I don't know why it didn't dry out, Jody. I'm not really sure, but I've not had it dry out on me yet. but I don't let it sit real long either. So, anyhow, that's where we are. If you have the old one, and if you have the old one still, then you should still be able to use it. But if not, I think we have enough new techniques to think that this is worthwhile looking into. So, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. But thanks for watching. Have a great evening and a great weekend. We'll talk soon. Bye now.